Hello and welcome to the Gothic Unicorn. Today I'm going to be looking at making over a piece of furniture that's already had some work done to it. You'll understand what I mean when you see it, so let's get on with it. This piece started life as one of those bare wood pieces that you can get from cheap shops. Here in the UK they were costing me £1, although the price has gone up, and I know that it's a piece that was available at dollar stores in the States. It is just a wooden box, or it was just a wooden box with the effect of doors and drawers in this case. Not a bad piece. This has actually been in my house for quite some time. It was claimed as a bedside unit for a 1/6 scale doll, the Monster Eye doll, and that is why it's got this sort of rough black over pink appearance. Nothing was ever done with the handles. I'm not sure why. All I know is I gave it a quick coat of paint to go with some pieces that I made for this particular Monster Eye doll. Now we've been having a clear out and it emerged, and I thought, well, maybe I can do something with that. So that's what I'm going to try and do today. Now I know that people have taken these apart, and I'm going to give that a go rather than just repainting it and repurposing it. I'd like to remove the little handles and replace them with anything else. So I will probably, I know I want to do that, so I need to loosen the glue for that. And I think I'm going to try putting it in the microwave. Now apparently if you put these pieces in the microwave for a few seconds at a time, you can actually persuade the glue to come apart. Well, I don't know if that'll work, but there's nobody else home, so nobody will know that I'm putting furniture in the doll's house unless they watch this video, and if it all goes wrong, it's between me and you. Well, that took a while. I'm not going to pretend it was easy. It took a lot of bursts in the microwave, and I had to put it in for more than 10 seconds at a time, actually get it hot. I was putting it in for 30 seconds in the end, but I managed to get all the pieces aside, and I actually found out that I got a piece I wasn't expecting. I knew it was there, I just thought that the front was one piece as the back was, and that the sort of base, interior base, was just inside. It wasn't. It doesn't matter, because I am going to put it back together slightly different. Now what I'm going to do is, I think I'm actually going to give this a bit of paint before I start putting it back together, because it's going to be easier, and I'm going to make a serious modification. Now the front piece, which is a bit of a mess because the handles didn't want to come out, is going to need some serious work. I've got to sand it down, I've got to trim these bits off that have raised up, but I think I'm going to put some separate pieces onto the drawer fronts to tidy it up. But I'm also going to try and actually open the cupboard. Now I'm not going to make it so that the cupboard opens and closes. I'm actually going to do it so that the doors are glued open, and I'm going to put another shelf inside, like that level. We use the shelf from underneath so that you can actually have something inside. Not sure what, not in the least, but I'm going to give that a go. I was going to try and make one of the drawers actually stick out a bit, but looking at the way that the piece actually is made, it's going to make far more sense to make the doors open and then just have the drawers as faux drawers at the bottom. You know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. The wood has split at the top between the doors anyway, so I'm just going to have to extend that and cut it along the bottom there. So I think I'm going to be going outside and doing some sanding, and yeah, then we'll come back and maybe start putting some things back together. I sanded all the pieces down and I've added some paint, some black paint over the existing paint. I've also put paint on some of the bits that are going to be visible that weren't visible before. So obviously I've got the back of that piece which is going to be open. That's going to be the cupboard that will be open. I'm going to do the sides, but I've actually stuck those two pieces back together to make it easier for me because I've had to cut a shelf. The shelf is going to go in above the drawer fronts, which has been trimmed off, and then that will just tidy everything up. I've been having a few issues with extraneous noise, so I've not been able to film, and also with getting my head around what I want to do, because I want the doors to be open, sort of right open, like so. The doors are actually probably going to be glued onto the edges of the side pieces, and then you'll be able to see inside the cupboard where there will be something that I've got in mind, but we'll see whether I have time to make that happen in this video. I'm not promising anything because, well, if I promise something, I'm just going to stress over it too much at the moment. So I'm going to have a shelf there, I'm going to have my fake drawers. It's going to look, I hope, absolutely awesome. So it's time now for more painting. That new shelf obviously needs painting, and then I'm going to have to start sticking some more things together. I could use wood glue, but for the first glue I've just used my Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue because it takes pretty quickly, and wood glue needs a lot more moulding, and at the moment my head's not there, so we'll get it done and then yeah, it should work. So it's back to painting and then maybe a bit more sticking, so I will return when there's something to show you. Having added paint to the bits that still needed it, I have stuck my new shelf into place using the doors for the top part to give me my alignment. Hopefully this will work. Now the shelf is actually made from a piece of basswood, I think that's how you pronounce it, which is thicker than balsa, but it's still quite lightweight and it's easy to cut. I wouldn't recommend it in the sort of thickness that I've got for anything that you really needed some structural soundness for, but because this is just filling in, I think that will do. I've also added a lot of glue onto the side that won't be seen. That still hasn't dried yet. That's how much I put on, just to make sure that it is well and truly secured. So I'm going to carry on and get on with putting this back together, and I'm going to put the pieces in from the one side out to the other side. So I'm going to put the fake drawer front, the bottom, the decorative piece, and then put the other side on in that order. I think that's right. This is just to make it easier, because obviously once the other side's on I won't be able to get to anything. Yeah, that's why I'm doing it. And then I will be touching up the paint. So I'm going to start putting some more of these in, and I'll give you an update shortly. As you can see, it's sort of half put together now. I can see places where I'm going to have to touch up the paint, but I'm fully expecting to have to touch up the paint because I'm going to be adding some more details to it. So to add the other piece, I need to go all around the exposed edges on this side. I'm going to just pop a bit more glue. Doesn't seem to matter how much I put out. It doesn't seem to be enough. And put a nice quantity of this. And then obviously I've got this piece which is going to be fitted into place. Now if I do this right, it will be nice and even. Line it up at this end. Push it all together, and if I stand it up, it's as level as it was in the first place, so that's good. So this all now needs to go off before I can start adding more paint and decorative pieces. I want to add the paint sort of before we go much further, because obviously it's going to be easier to get into there before I fit the doors, before I fit the top piece on. That piece will go on top eventually. It'll go back on there like so. The doors open, and I think it's going to look pretty good. But yeah, drying time again, so I'll be back. I have put some more black paint on the outside to try and cover up some of the bits that were still looking a little less than ideal. And I've started adding my panels that are going to be the basis for my details. Now what I've done with these is it is just some cereal box material. The drawers, I've cut strips that were, I think it's 2.5 inches by 1/4 of an inch, which just means that it covers up those holes from the original door pull things, and drawer even. And it means that I can put on some new handles of some description when I get to the final touches. I've also panelled the doors. I've put a inch square panel on what will be the front, and a 1.25 inch square on the inside. Again, this is just to cover up those holes and to give me a nice base for something. I'm probably going to paint this black, but I'm not sure yet whether I'm going to add something different onto them to make it stand out a bit, rather than just being a black piece of furniture. I'm thinking maybe of using some different colour just to make it pop. And on the inside I may find some images that I can then fit inside at maybe at the inch square, so it just looks like there's a panel with something on it. Not sure. I've also been working on something to go inside. This is just to turn this into a piece that is sort of in keeping with my house's aesthetic. You could use it for anything. You know, you could put a shelf in there and just use it for storing linen or something, but I couldn't be that predictable, could I? I've been changing my mind again. While I was sort sort of playing with the bit that I'm going to do inside, I realised that I didn't want the inside black, and I've gone with a completely black outside, and I've gone with silver for inside of the cabinet. I've also found these lovely little brads, which is a split pin. You may have seen them for attaching paper together, but these are actually decorative ones that are normally used for paper craft. And I'm going to cut the legs off and stick these on as handles. And that sort of led me down the kind of direction that I've going. So I've painted the inside of the cabinet doors with some silver paint, just very roughly, because I'm still considering putting something on those, just not sure what yet. And I've painted the inside silver, and I'm liking how this is coming together. Now the next stage is going to be to coat the black with some matte Mod Podge, just to protect it a bit, and then to stick these little handles on. And yeah, it's coming together. Now at that point I could obviously just stick the doors on, stick the top piece on, which is staying black inside. I think it'll work better at this stage. Could change, I don't know. Be done. But of course, this is the Gothic unicorn. Everything has to have a sort of spooky intent, a darker element to it, and that's what I'm going to do in there. So yeah, it's going to get darker. You've been warned. If you wanted to make just an ordinary piece of furniture, this is pretty much where you'd leave it. I've held the top in place, and I've got my Mod Podged piece with its new fancier draw pulls in place. Obviously, if you want the doors open, you need to glue them into place. Because I'm not looking at something that's going to open and close, I'm not going to be looking at making hinges. I'm just going to be looking at gluing these into place and leaving it there. And that would be your non-spooky piece of furniture. But as I said, this is the Gothic unicorn. I like to give everything a bit of a twist, so I'm going to take it further. So I'm going to put this aside, and we're going to talk about what's going to go on the inside. Now, if you know anything about medieval art, you'll know that every time they portrayed images of angels, the good, they would also portray images of the bad side in the form of the fallen angels or demonic figures, or even representations of death. And that got me thinking, especially because the colours of some of this artwork are quite jarring to our modern tastes. And I thought, well, maybe I can put something in there that sort of looks like one of these really old pieces of artwork. And what I got is I got a set of these. These are little cherubs with their arps, and I bought them. They're just resin. I bought them because I used one of these in a project I did a number of years ago, and the others have been sitting around. But it's far too nice to suit my aesthetic. So I've had to alter it. And what I did is I took the air dry clay to it a couple of days ago. I have changed the ARP. I have changed the head so it loses the halo. And I've given it a interesting looking paint job. Now, obviously, my doll's house, there's more than a nod towards vampires. And one of the sort of background stories about where vampires come from is that they originate from a fallen angel. And yeah, that's the kind of a vibe I'm going for. I'm actually thinking that this piece I will have something that looks like some kind of a little, not quite a shrine or an altar, but you could do it as a shrine or an altar to a particular deity if that suited your aesthetic, but more like a sort of bit of a display piece. And this is a fictional vampiric fallen angel, and to suggest that this is a creature of darkness, I've given it horns, because all the best demons seem to have horns, and the yarp has become my kind of very warped version of a human heart. So it actually looks like this creature has ripped the heart out of somebody and is sucking the blood out of it. Yes, I know, this is rather gruesome even for me, but this is my sort of freakiness for this particular piece. So that little piece, which, as I say, has been altered with air dry clay and then painted, is going to go inside my cabinet. And I think that's what I need to do next, is to pop that into place on the back of the cabinet. I have stuck my little thing, my little creature, into the back of the cabinet, and it's actually allowed me the time to sort of figure out where I'm going with this piece. When I started doing it, I just knew I wanted to put new life into this piece, and then I found the cherubs and thought, oh, I can do something with that. And obviously I'm going down the sort of vampire theme. Well, if you've been around this channel for a while, you may know that I did a collaboration with Ava from Bentley House Minis, and I made a Vampire Hunters box, which has gone absolutely wild. It was really well received at the time, and people keep on watching that video. They really seem to resonate with it, and I've seen so many Vampire Hunters boxes since. Now, here's the thing, Vampire Hunters boxes were not a thing. It has only been 125 years. Actually, as of the week that I am filming this, since Bram Stoker's Dracula was published. Before that, there were only a few references to vampires in literature, and vampires were very much something that was associated with the peasant classes, particularly in Eastern Europe. It was a superstition that was seen as a superstition of the poor ignorant peasant. Vampire boxes that exist have basically been put together since probably about the 1950s, when movies started to take off and bring vampires into our collective psyche. And there are these supposed antique boxes, but they've actually been poo-pooed as being a put-together piece. Take a box, take the items, put it together, there you've got it. But it worked for my story, and if you know the story behind my Vampire Hunters box, you'll know that my house, my doll's house, has got a vampire living underneath it. If you don't know that story, it's not actually on the video, it's on a post on my Facebook page, but I explain why they've got a Vampire Hunters box. But there's a vampire under the house who's actually a member of the family. This means that I really want to display that piece in the house, not least because it's such a defining piece for the Gothic unicorn. And I didn't know where I was going to put it. And I think it's actually going to go on top of this cabinet. So inside I'm going to have something that's sort of slightly vampiric. My words are failing me today. But the main feature is going to be on the top, is going to be the Vampire Hunters box. And I've actually got my box, my infamous Vampire Hunters box. And that is going to fit on the top somehow. Obviously, this is lying down at the moment, so it's only an idea, but that's where it's going to sit in due course. So as I say, this has gained a life of its own while I've been making it. Now, I've made a few pieces that are going to go inside. I've got some of my candles. I put these on a sort of mirrored plate because I got lots of mirror board about. And I've repeated that with a big piece of crystal. Well, it's not a big piece of crystal, it's a big chip of crystal. It's going to look like a good size crystal, 1/12 scale. And then there's just a little dish, which is just one of my blister pack pieces painted. As I've said in some of my videos, I make these things, I put them aside. You never know when you're going to see them again. So they're going to go inside, and I have also got images for the inside of my doors. Now, as I said, medieval art was very much about balance, and they firmly believed that you couldn't live without being aware of your own mortality, especially after the Black Death. And what I found is I found an image, or part of an image, from a medieval French king's Bible of the Dance Macabre, which is the dance with death. Everybody is going to do the dance with death eventually. What I've done is I've cut it into two, and I have fastened it onto the inside of my doors. So that is what is going to actually be visible when the doors are glued into place like so. So I'm going to get sticking, and I'll show you how I get on. And here we have my repurposed cabinet. As I said, when I started out, all I knew was I wanted to save this piece of furniture from the bin, give it another life, and I really like how it's turned out. It's not to everyone's taste, I freely admit that, and I don't doubt that I will get my dislikes for doing something that's spooky. If it's you that's doing those dislikes and you're actually watching the video, well, thank you for watching, and thank you for actually interacting with me, because hey, even a dislike means somebody's actually thought about it. It is a very gothic unicorn piece. This is going to go in the library of my doll's house, I think. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a feature of it down there. And yeah, that's another room that I'm starting to think about in serious terms. Once things in full-scale life become a bit more ordered, I'm really hoping that we're going to be able to crack on with the house. Although, once I crack on with the house, I'm going to have to find other things to do. And I'm not sure that my family is ready for my miniatures taking over the entire home. But at the end of the day, if that's what has to happen, that's what has to happen. I hope you've enjoyed this video and seeing how to turn a cheap piece of furniture into something with far more character. Even if it's just actually turning something that is basically a box into something that has got a space within. I think that is a really, really good thing that I'm going to take away from this, is that I can do more with this furniture than just build on top of it. So you may see more. If you have enjoyed it, please like, comment and subscribe. Maybe even ring that notification bell if you want to know when my videos go up. Normally on a Friday, but I make no promises. And until next time, bye.